Hi there, so I got Ian with me. Good win for us yesterday, beating Nottingham Forest 2-1. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, always good to start with 3 points. I think that's the most important thing. I think if you compare to last season where we came in off a very hot pre-season and we were flying out the traps and we sort of had a very settled lineup and we came in really hot. I think this season, especially because we're going to build in more unpredictability, and yesterday's lineup was a bit unpredictable, and we'll get to that. I think it's important that while you're trying to get to that level, build up to that level and sort of come into it, that you can still pick up the points. So I saw the lineup and I thought, right, so he's going to go 3-4-3, because I thought he was going to play Partey and Rice as a sort of almost double pivot, or certainly go forward more. So I was quite interested to see that Partey started nominally as right back. I'm quite curious as to why he didn't play Gabriel from the start. That's an interesting one for me. I mean, I wonder if it's more about the ability to play under pressure. I think that's probably a big thing, that he feels that Gabriel is very good at defending, and Gabriel is very, very good at sort of tracking back. But he's probably, I won't say he's a bad passer. He's the one who is least comfortable with the ball at his feet out of the main back line now. I mean, once you take 10.
Do you think, because we knew Nottingham Forest were going to sit back a lot, so we didn't really need that extra defender in there?
I think because we attack from defence, we build up through the defence. We've got players who play through the lines or who try and create angles or options. And I think Gabriel is much more defender first. So I think he wanted players who are capable of playing through. It was very interesting, and I know Havertz has had a lot of stick. I actually think he did very well. A lot of his off-the-ball work is really, really good. He is someone who wins a lot of second balls. Obviously, he's a target man for us if we need to go over a press like we saw with City. But he's actually, his stats from last season, he was one of the best sort of tracking back and pressers, and I think that's what we've gone. We've got him and Rice and Timber. They're essentially transition monsters. That's where we were struggling last season, and now we've brought in players to try and bring that transition. But it was quite interesting. There was a piece I was reading earlier that was demonstrating Arsenal actually at certain points were kind of playing a 3-1-6 in attack, and then dropping into the 3-2 that we normally see when we were defending. And I think, whilst I think Partey got done for pace for their goal, I think the main idea is that Saliba's a big space defender who can cover at the back and cover that if you let Partey do the sort of Zinchenko from the right, which was inverting, and it was working well with Timber as well. I think when we brought on Tommy for Timber, we lost a little bit, especially in control of the game and our ability to draw out and play through. But yeah, like it was generally a good performance. We were in control. Something I found interesting that wasn't raised on Match of the Day or on TNT or whatever they're called now is, in the build-up to their goal from our corner, Havertz goes up for a header with one of their defenders, and the defender doesn't get the ball, but he does catch Havertz in the face. It wasn't intentional, absolutely not. I'm not suggesting there should be a red card on that at all. But my understanding of the law is if you go to make a challenge and you get the player and not the ball, it's a foul. My other understanding was if there is a face injury or a head injury, the referee should be stopping the game so the player can receive treatment. So I don't know why that didn't happen, and I don't know why that wasn't challenged by anyone, or anyone thought the need to look at it. I mean, I know they reviewed the handball from Declan Rice from half a yard out, where there was nothing he could do about it, and it was very clearly said, yeah, there's no penalty. But why nobody's gone back to review incidents, especially when you think, last season at Old Trafford, perfectly good goal ruled out for Martinelli because they took it back for a challenge from Odegaard that was a foul, like 10 seconds before the goal was scored. I don't quite know why that wasn't at least looked at or mentioned. But I'm happy if someone explains it to me. Otherwise, generally, I thought we played quite well. Their first chance in the first half came off a ricochet. Those are things you can't legislate for. Thankfully, wasn't taken. Pleased to see Eddie get a start, to get a goal. I thought he worked hard again. Obviously, he's not Jesus, but he is very much for games like this. This is a game where he gets a half yard and he'll get goals. He's exactly the kind of player that this is a game for. Trossard again came on. He looked very good. Martinelli. That sort of double drag back and back heel flick for the setup. Just what a player he is. And Saka, I think you run out of superlatives for our HLN graduate, and what a fantastic strike. I think we're going to see a few more of those over the course of the season. I think we're going to have a lot of teams that come up against us in a low block. I don't know that we'll necessarily go with the same kind of lineup, but I think we're going to look to play overloads a lot more and bringing an extra man in from defence and try and have a lot more rotations from further back to draw players out and create spaces. And we controlled the game. We had like 85% possession in the first half. Forest had to come out a bit more in the second half. We need to get rid of that, we're 2-0 up, let's switch off tendency. But then equally so, I don't think Turner had any chances with the goals that went in, but he made a couple of good saves off of Declan. And there were a few other opportunities that it's coming together. And again, automatisms take time to learn. The players are starting to click a bit. There was a lot more link-up play with Havertz and Martinelli, which was really great to see. And Timber, what an acquisition he is, by the way. Absolute steal for 35 million. So overall very positive. Most important, 3 points. A good performance, but stuff to work on, especially defensively. But I thought we looked pretty good yesterday.
Alright, yes, man. What were your thoughts on the game yesterday?
I thought it was a brilliant performance apart from the goal we conceded. And I think we did very well in attack. Maybe could have scored a few more. And Saka's goal of the month, for sure.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I've not seen you since end of last season, so I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the season overall. And first of all, I wanted to ask you about our transfer window. Are you happy with the business we've done so far?
I think, we won the transfer window. Woohoo! Another trophy. No, I think it's been brilliant. Declan Rice has been our main target since at least January. Everyone knew it. City were in for him seriously. You don't chuck 90 million down on the table if you're not genuinely serious about trying to sign the player. But he came here because he knows he's a central part of the project and he's been sold on Arteta's vision. That is future England captain, arguably, certainly the best English central midfielder in his position, and one of the top 5 or 6 in Europe. And he chose Arsenal to spend his best years of his career because this is where he feels he can develop the most. And that tells you something. I think Havertz was a big surprise, but as I said, he does a lot. His off-the-ball work and his numbers from last season were really good. I think that playing in that left 8 role, we'll see a lot more of him, and I think that especially because Saka can go both ways. Not only can he cut in and whip into the far corner like he did, if you've got Havertz ghosting in from the left 8 to the far post, it gives you an opportunity to float one in or pick up a rebound. I think he's going to get quite a few goals for us this season, and we'll see his confidence come. I know his goal scoring record isn't brilliant, but a third of his goals are headers. So I think that'll be interesting, and he's a very intelligent player, and he's very good in the press as well. And I think it's not always picked up on the cameras, but his off-the-ball stuff is pretty good. So I think that was a good buy. And as I said before, Timber, what a player. We brought him to come in as cover at right back, and I think Zinchenko's going to find it hard to necessarily come back in at left because he has absolutely run that. I hope that injury is not too serious. Hopefully it's just a bit of a sprain and we can get him back quite quickly. But we've now got a lot of strength in depth. It's that versatility word that Arteta likes. Last season our undoing was very much that, come April, May time, we had a couple of injuries. We didn't cover Saliba and Tommy at the same time. We struggled at the back. We conceded a silly number of goals in that period of time, and we lost our ability to play high up because Holding, who I love, but can't play a high line. He doesn't have the pace and he doesn't have the ball skills to be a ball-playing defender in the same way. He'll be great for a team that's going to sit back. He'd be ideal at someone like Forest because he can sit and defend the penalty area and head it out. So we Holding as we used to do. Bring him on when we're 1 goal up with 10 minutes to go away from home, and you keep it clean sheet. So now we've got such a range of options in all of those places with Saliba and Kivior, who's sort of really come on quietly in the last 6 months. Ben White can go inside. Tommy can obviously play there. Timber can play there as well. On the on the left now you got Kivio, Gabriel, Timber, Tommy. Obviously on the fullbacks wise you've got Zinchenko, Tierney at the moment, although I'm sure he's going to go, which I understand, and part of me sad, but I also think we don't use the left back role in the way he plays it. So I think Arteta wants to be able to keep a similar type of style if he has to change personnel. And it'll be a big test for this season to see how he rotates the squad and keeps everybody busy and everybody happy. If he uses it well, then I think we're going to keep a lot of teams guessing, like yesterday with the lineup that we picked, and I think we have the options to do that. And I know Raya's been here. I don't think they've officially announced him yet, but I know he's done his medical and he's done his media duties. I think we're just waiting for that to come out, as per Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein. But again, I think you look at that competition in the goalkeeper spot. Turner, he's a good shot stopper, but he's not someone who can play out, and our goalkeeper needs to be able to play. So Raya is an interesting competition, and that deal is genius, by the way. 3 million for a year's loan with the option to buy for 27, which is brilliant. A, finances go next season, but B, it means that if he's not number one and he wants to go and be number one somewhere else, we're not tied into a big contract with him. Or if he is, we've paid 30 million. Look what United paid for Onana. So I think very good business in the summer.
Okay, in terms of outgoings, we've not really seen much happen. Right, Turner left just recently, Xhaka left as well. They're the two notable ones. But do you think we will keep hold of Balogun? I know your dad is a big fan of his.
I love Balogun, and I would like to see him get his chance. And I think it was really unfortunate that he got his injury when he did, and he didn't get the opportunity. But I think also now at this stage, for someone who's not been in that group, to try and integrate his way into that first 11 or to that main group, when Eddie is he's one start, one goal, you can't argue that. Jesus will be the main man, and if Balogun wasn't happy with the idea of sharing minutes as a finisher, which I think he would be, and I think this is again an interesting discussion about starters and finishers and the way we're going to use players with the 5 sub rule, then I think unfortunately Balogun will go. What I hope they do is they put in a buyback clause, and if they take slightly less than they want but you get a buyback option after a couple of seasons, then I think that would be very smart business for Arsenal. And also he gets to play and develop on a regular basis, which I think we saw last season. He tore it up in France, and I'm sure he's going to do very, very well, and I don't blame him. But I also, from an Arsenal perspective, he's got 2 years left on his deal. If he won't sign a new one and he doesn't want to go on loan, and he's not going to be a regular starter, it's very difficult to suggest to him you've got to stay. So yeah, I think unfortunately we missed that window, and I think he will go. As I said, I think Tierney's going to go. I think one of the reasons he wasn't in the squad yesterday is I think there's some negotiations going on with, I believe it's Sevilla. They want a loan, we want it to be a purchase, so whether we come to some kind of loan with an obligation or something, I don't know, but I think that will happen. I think a lot of some of the kids have gone out on loan. I'm fairly certain that Pepe and Cedric won't be here. Whether we pay them off or whether we get a little bit in for them, I don't know. That was obviously the big mark here, is can we sell our players? But I also think that we're looking at, Newcastle have been trying to keep their powder dry. I know they've been linked with Tierney. Maybe if there's an actual serious bid on the table, then they might get drawn out. From my understanding, again, this is all from online, from the sources that I would read, there are 2 or 3 clubs interested in Balogun. We've had 1 bid on the table that we've rejected. I'm sure there'll be some more now. So I think we'll find, we had that sort of early flurry where we brought in, then you had that bit of a lull where everybody's kind of on holiday and whatever, and kind of consolidating and pre-seasoning, and then when they come, and then everybody comes back from tour, and then the season starts, and you get a few teams going, oh, do you know what we really need, or we've picked up an injury, or we need, and we'll start to see some of those players go. There's mixed reporting about whether people are trying to place a bid for Partey. Personally, I hope he stays this season. I would understand if somebody put 45, 50 million on the table if Arsenal took it for a 30-year-old with an injury record like his, but equally so, as we saw in the Charity Shield and as we've seen at other points, when he plays the single pivot in central midfield, there's very few players who can do what he can do, and I think Rice may well become that player, but don't forget it took Partey virtually a season to learn how to do that. And I think, and Rice would do it differently because Rice is someone who drives forward with the ball, whereas Partey can split defences with passes. And again, like Rice, there's a couple of times yesterday, and definitely in that Charity Shield, that sprint back when we recover the ball, just very, very good. So yeah, I think there's a few going out. I'm sure Holding will go as well. I think Runarsson will go. I think there are some negotiations for Arthur Nkonkwo, one of the goalkeepers, to go out as well. I think Hines going to stay to be third choice, but again, he's probably not going to play very much. So I'm sure we'll get some outgoings. It is obviously going to go more to the end of the window. That is the main question mark on Edu and the team about, can you sell well now that we've got players that people want. Interesting, Patino's gone out on loan after making such a noise about wanting to be sold and be a first team player, and if there's no bids you can't sell him, so maybe that's a bit of a call for him. But if he has a really good season, it certainly doesn't reduce his value. I know Marquinhos went out on loan, that was announced yesterday. Again, I think he's another one, and don't forget we sold Trusty as well. We made a tidy profit on Austin Trusty, doubled what we paid for him. So there's definitely been some things coming in that make me think, do you know what, we're starting to make that shake that way. But again, getting a reputation in the market for selling well, it takes time, and it's only now that we've really started to have players that's the case. I think Lukonga's another one that's going to be interesting. I believe, I know there's been links at Burnley because obviously he worked with Company when he was at Anderlecht and he was the captain, so that makes sense. And again, whether that's a loan to buy or a buy option, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we'll get more players off the books. I'll be interested to see what we get for them.
Okay, then, so looking ahead now to this season, one game in, very early days, but based on what you've seen of our summer transfer business, how we're developing as a team, what is your minimum expectations for us this season?
I think the minimum expectation should be that we are in the top 2 or 3, pushing City very close. We should be within 3 to 5 points of them at the end of the season. It's possible at the moment, and there's still time, that we've brought in well. They've lost a couple of players and haven't hugely replaced them enough yet. There is the possibility that we could. I definitely see us as challengers and an opportunity to win it. I don't think it makes us favourites, but I think top 3 is a definite minimum. And I think that we need a decent run in the domestic cup competitions, especially the FA Cup. I mean, look, again, if you're unlucky and you draw City away in the 3rd round or the 4th round, if you go out there by 1 goal, nobody's going to cry about it. But you don't want to be losing away at a Championship side on the 3rd round. And in Europe, we're 2nd seeded. I expect us to get out the group. Depending on who we get, we might even be favourites to top it, because when you look around Europe, you can take out City and Real Madrid, and after that there's not too many teams that I massively fear. I mean, I know we've just had a bad record against Munich, but again, I know they've signed Kane, who managed to you can take the boy out of Tottenham, managed to not win a trophy yet, they're obviously it's different when it's serious competition, but I don't fear them. It's really, if we avoid Madrid and we avoid City, I think we can have a decent run, but I'd like us to get through to at least the quarterfinals, barring a draw against either of those two. So I think we've got the squad to do it, and he's got to show that we can run the league and Europe and have a bit of a domestic competition challenge again, because that is our next evolution. Really is multi-competition, and we should, as I said, we fell down for the last 2 years without the strength and depth. You look at the people we were putting out, especially at the back, at the end of the last 2 seasons. When you got a back line of, was it Holding, Cedric, that's almost like putting Mustafi in there. That's not good enough. Whereas now there's very good quality. I think it would be nice if we had a cover for Saka, because I think really our cover for Saka is Jesus. He's probably the next one, and we've got other players that can play there. But for me personally, I think we need someone who can do a bit more. Not at his level, because you won't get that, but more Sackery things, so we can sit him down a bit. But I have an expectation, barring a really bad string of luck with quite a lot of injuries in one hit. like Arsenal winning it last season. I genuinely think that we should be challenging on a lot of fronts and going deep in all the competitions and being there or thereabouts at the end of the season.
Okay, cool. So, who's your top 4 for this season?
I think it's going to be us and City as the top 2. City have got this habit, and I think we're now in a position to sort of start doing that, where they start a bit slower and they're sort of figuring things out and they're trying different combinations, and then by the time you get towards that sort of March and April time, they're really kind of hitting stride and going full juggernaut, because they've got all those players in the tank. And I know I've mentioned it on previous videos, if you look at the amount of minutes their players are playing, their average players were playing like 2,000 minutes or so, and our main first 11 last season were all getting close to or topping 3,000. So no wonder we burnt out. But this season, I think we won't start quite as on fire as we did. I mean, look, if we start with 5 wins out of 5, I'm definitely not going to complain. But I don't expect us to be flying out the traps playing the way we were last season, on fire at this stage. But I expect us to grow and get stronger. So we got to keep pace with that. So I think us and City are the top 2. When Caicedo was going to Liverpool, I would have put them in the top 4. Now that he's not, I don't think they've got a midfield, and I think they're going to struggle. So I'm not going to put them in the top 4. I think if he goes to Chelsea, they've got no Europe. I think it's an opportunity, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them 3rd or 4th. And as much as I don't like to say it, I think United are probably the other team in that top 4. I think again they'll probably be 3rd, but again they do have Europe this year. So whether or how they manage that, we'll see. And they've got a few single points of failure where one injury could have a big impact for them. Whereas I think us and City are probably the most complete squads when it comes to that. Outside of that, I think in the most Spursy way, they signed James Maddison to provide balls in for Harry Kane, and then sold Harry Kane in as I said, just in total Spurs fashion. I would love it if they managed to catch the Europa Conference League again. That would be beautiful, because none of them want to be in it, but they would have to be, and it would just be a very disappointing season for them, which would make me laugh. And then Brighton's difficult, because when Caicedo goes, you kind of look at it and go, they've lost Caicedo, they've lost McAllister, but they always seem to find a bit of a way, and that young striker they've got looks like a player. I've got him in my fantasy team. Little tip out there for people, he was pretty cheap. He's going to get some goals this season. Mitoma's very useful, and De Zerbi's a good coach. So again, they're going to have to balance Europe, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they end up doing a West Ham and kind of dropping low down, or whether or not they're able to maintain the kind of levels that they were producing. So I think they might be a surprise package, just because they've sold two of their best players in midfield, and yet here they are. If they're up there or thereabouts in the top 6, you've got to go. That would be really good. So that would be my surprise package for the year. And Newcastle's another one. I don't think they're going to do quite as well as last season. Again, they've got to balance Europe, and I don't think they've got quite as much strength and depth yet. And of course, it's Champions League, so it's not like they can just go in like we did in the Europa League and play the kids. So that's going to be another interesting one as well. But the window ain't done, so watch this space. But as things are at the moment, I think I'm going to go us, City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brighton, Newcastle, Spurs, in that order.
Okay, and then for relegation?
I can't look past Luton Town. I think we could probably lend them our mural to double their capacity from my old days back at Highbury. But I don't think they've got the money to build. I don't think they're going to be ready for the league. I think Everton they were very lucky last season, and I don't think they've done a lot this summer that makes me think that they're going to be safe. I think they're going to go down. Beyond that, I'm not sure I'm quite ready to pick on the 3rd. I think Forest will do better than they did last year. You always wonder when teams come up whether or not they're going to, how well they can settle into the league. but I don't. I think it might be one of the other newly promoted teams. Probably not Sheffield United, but I don't know. It depends. They need to score goals. And Wolves again, another team that look in disarray. I think they're very much going to be in and around the relegation battle. So it would definitely be Luton, Everton, and then maybe one of Wolves or one of the other promoted sides.
Okay, cool. So for us, it's Crystal Palace up next. Monday Night Football. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, if we can replicate the result from last season, I'll be very happy. As we say, be interesting to see what he does. I think part of it's going to depend on Timber. Zinchenko, I believe, is obviously back in training, so he may well be fit for that, and he might start. And if we haven't sold Tierney, that might be a replacement, or Tommy. I mean, Tierney's quick, so if you've got a pacey winger that likes to go on the outside, having a Tierney there, that's not a bad shout defensively. I don't think we're going to go with Partey at right back. I think we're going to see Ben White. I think we're going to see Ben White at right back. I think we're going to see Ben White at right back. I think we're going to get back to Saliba and Gabriel as a central defensive pairing. And as I said, I think probably Zinchenko at left back if he's fit. I think he'll probably go with Partey in midfield, and then the question is whether he goes with Havertz or Rice in the left 8. Odegaard, again Martinelli and Saka. And again, I think it's hard to not play Eddie because he started and scored. But whether he wants Havertz up top or whether they share the game, I'm not 100% sure. But that's what I think. But we should have enough. We should have enough to go and take 3 points there. I mean, it's never an easy place to go for us. But I would say I think a win. It would be nice to get a clean sheet. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with 2-0 again for us, and I back Eddie to get another one. And I think we'll be 2 wins from 2, so it'd be a good start.